Welcome, wanderer. Tonight, we journey far from the world you know, far from the lights of your room, far from the thoughts of your day. Tonight, we travel to a realm older than history, a realm where the stars were hung by the hands of gods, and where the universe itself was born from fire and ice. Take a slow, deep breath. And another. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw soften. Let the weight of the day begin to fade, like mist at dawn. You are safe here. You are warm. And there is nothing you must do except listen. In the hours that follow, I will tell you the oldest stories ever whispered by firelight in the cold halls of the north. The myths of the Vikings, the tales of Odin, of Thor, of Loki, and of a universe shaped by giants and gods. These stories were told 1,000 years ago under the same stars you see tonight.
You do not need to follow every word. You do not need to remember anything. If your mind drifts, let it drift. If your eyes grow heavy, let them close. Let the ancient voices carry you softly into sleep. We begin at the beginning. Long before there was earth beneath your feet, long before there was sky above your head, long before there were stars or seas or any living thing, there was nothing. Not darkness as we know darkness, not emptiness as we understand emptiness. What existed before the worlds was called Ginnungagap, a vast, yawning void. A silence so deep it had no sound, a space so wide it had no edge. To the north of this void, slowly, a place began to form. The Norse called it Niflheim, the land of mist.
It was a world of ice, cold beyond imagining. In its center lay a well, a spring called Ymir, from which 11 rivers flowed. These rivers, called the Elevagar, poured out into the silence. And as they flowed, they froze, layer upon layer of ice, sheet upon sheet of frost. The edge of Niflheim grew outward, slowly, patiently, across countless ages. To the south of the void, another place formed. It was called Muspelheim, and where Niflheim was silent and still, Muspelheim was fire. It burned, it roared, it crackled. Its flames reached into the void, filled with sparks and heat and embers. At its border stood a mighty guardian, a figure whose name was Surtra. He held a flaming sword, and he watched. He has watched since the beginning, and he will watch, the stories tell us, until the very end. And so these two realms existed, side by side, across the great emptiness. Ice to the north, fire to the south, and between them, the void, waiting, silent, vast. But the void did not remain empty forever. The rivers of ice flowed further and further, until at last their leading edge reached the middle of Ginnungagap. And there, the ice met the fire. Flames licked at frost. Heat kissed cold. And where they met, something happened that had never happened before.
The ice began to melt. Drop by drop, the melting ice fell into the void. And in those drops of water, shaped by the warmth of Muspelheim and the chill of Niflheim, the first life began to form. From the melting frost, a being emerged, a giant, massive beyond reckoning, ancient before he even drew his first breath. His name was Ymir, the primordial giant, the ancestor of old Jotnar, the father of a race that would one day challenge the gods themselves. Ymir did not stand. He did not speak. He simply was. He lay across the void, vast as a mountain range, breathing slowly. And as he slept, new beings emerged from him. From the sweat beneath his left arm, a male and a female giant were born. From his legs, another giant was formed. And so the race of the frost giants came into being, born from Ymir's own body while he dreamed. But Ymir was not alone in that first awakening. From the same melting ice, another creature emerged, a great cow. Her name was Odin, and she was immense. She grazed upon the salty ice, licking it, slowly wearing it down. And from her udders flowed 4 rivers of milk.
It was this milk that nourished Ymir as he grew. Take a deep, slow breath. Let the image settle in your mind. The vast void, the ice meeting the fire, the great sleeping giant, the ancient cow licking at the salt and ice. There is no hurry in this world. There is only slow time, slow creation. Everything unfolds at the pace of mountains. As Odin licked the ice, she too uncovered something. Day by day, the ice gave up its secret. First, a head of hair emerged, then a face, then a full body, a being, the first of a new kind. His name was Buri. He was not a giant. He was something else, something new. He was the first of the gods. Buri had a son named Bor, and Bor, in time, took a wife named Besla, who was the daughter of a frost giant. From their union came 3 sons. Their names were Odin, Vili, and Ve. And it is with these 3 brothers that the next age of creation begins.
Odin, Vili, and Ve grew, and as they grew, they looked upon the world around them, the vast void, the realm of ice, the realm of fire, and the sleeping giant Ymir, whose body stretched across all of existence. And they saw that the world was not as it should be. Ymir was cruel. His children, the frost giants, were cruel. They knew no kindness. They knew no beauty. They knew only cold and hunger and the endless silence of the void. The 3 brothers made a decision that would shape everything that came after. They would kill Ymir, and from his body, they would build the world. It was a terrible thing, but the Norse did not flinch from terrible things. Their stories did not hide from blood or death or the hard choices that shape existence. The old tales teach us that creation often comes at a cost, that to build something new, something old must sometimes fall. And so the 3 brothers fell upon the sleeping giant. With weapons of their own making, they struck him down. Ymir's blood poured forth in such a torrent that it flooded the void. The frost giants, his own children, were swept away in the tide. All of them drowned in the blood of their father. All of them except two. A giant named Bergelmir and his wife escaped upon a hollowed-out log floating upon the sea of blood. From them, the race of giants would begin again in a new place far from Asgard. But that is a story for another night.
With Ymir dead, the three brothers began their great work. They took his body, immense, still, and dragged it to the center of Ginnunga Gap. And there, in the middle of the void, they began to shape it. From his flesh, they formed the earth, rolling hills, fertile plains, deep valleys. Every meadow you have ever walked upon, every forest you have ever wandered, all of it, in the old stories, is the flesh of Ymir. From his blood, they formed the oceans, the great waters that surround the world, that rise and fall with the tides, that carry ships and whales and all the mysteries of the deep. Every wave, every drop of salt water is the blood of the first giant. From his bones, they formed the mountains, the peaks that reach toward the sky, the cliffs that guard the coastlines, the stones beneath the soil. When you walk upon rocky ground, you walk upon the bones of Ymir. From his teeth and shattered bones, they form the stones and gravel and boulders that lie scattered across the land. From his hair, they form the trees. Every forest, every grove, every single leaf that has ever rustled in the wind, all grew from the hair of the giant. From his skull, they raised the sky. They lifted it high above the earth, and at its four corners, they placed four dwarves to hold it up. The dwarves were named Nordri, Sudri, Ostri, and Vestri, north, south, east, and west. They have held the sky ever since. They hold it still.
And from his brain, the brothers scattered the clouds. Every cloud that drifts across the sky, every wisp of vapor, every storm that gathers on the horizon, all came from the mind of Ymir. But the world they had built was still dark. The sky above was empty and silent. And so Odin, Vili, and Ve turned to Muspelheim, the realm of fire. They gathered sparks and embers from its eternal flames, and they cast them into the sky. Some became stars, fixed in place. Others became wandering lights. And two of the brightest embers became the sun and the moon. The brothers gave the sun and moon to two children, a brother and sister. The girl's soul was given the sun. Her brother Mani was given the moon. They were placed in chariots, and they were told to ride across the sky forever. And this is what they do, every day, every night, without rest, without end. But even this peace would not last. For two great wolves, the stories say, chase the sun and the moon across the sky. The wolves' names are Skoll and Hati. They have been chasing since the beginning, and they will chase, we are told, until the end of all things, until the day comes when they finally catch their prey. And on that day, the sun and moon will be devoured, and darkness will return to the world.
But that too is a story for another night. Breathe in slowly and out. Let the image settle. A world built from the body of a sleeping giant, a sky held up by four dwarves, a sun and a moon fleeing forever from wolves across the heavens. The world was made, but it was still empty of people.
And so, in the next chapter of our tale, we will walk with the gods as they place the ancient tree Yggdrasil at the center of everything, and as they shape the first humans from driftwood upon the shore. But for now, rest. Let the ice and fire settle in your mind. Let the ancient voices soften into silence. The tale will continue soon. The world had been made, the earth shaped from Ymir's flesh, the sky raised upon his skull, the stars lit from the embers of Muspelheim. But the world was not yet whole, for the gods saw that their creation, though vast, was only one realm, and existence, true existence, required more. And so, at the very center of all that was, the gods placed a tree. Not an ordinary tree, not a tree like any you have ever seen. This was Yggdrasil, the world tree. An ash tree of such immense size that its roots reached into the deepest places of the cosmos, and its branches stretched into the highest heavens. It was the axis of all existence, the pillar that held everything together. Without Yggdrasil, the Norse believed, the worlds themselves would drift apart into nothing.
3 great roots supported the tree. Each root reached into a different realm, drawing strength from a sacred well. The first root stretched into Asgard, the realm of the gods. Here, the root drank from the well of Erd, a sacred spring tended by 3 mysterious women. These were the Norns. Their names were Erd, meaning what has been, Verdandi, meaning what is, and Skuld, meaning what shall be. The Norns shaped the fate of every living thing, gods, giants, mortals, and all creatures in between. Each day, they drew water from the well and poured it upon the roots of Yggdrasil, so that the tree would not wither. Each day, they carved the fates of beings into the tree's bark. What the Norns wrote could not be unwritten, not by any god, not by any hero, not by any power in all the 9 worlds. The second root reached into Jotunheim, the land of the giants. There it drank from the well of Ymir, which held within its waters all the wisdom of the ages. A wise and ancient being named Ymir guarded the well. He alone was permitted to drink from its depths, and in drinking, he knew things no other being knew. We will speak more of Ymir soon, for Odin himself will one day come to this well, and what he gives up in order to drink from it will change him forever. The third root stretched down into Niflheim, the realm of ice and mist. There, in the cold depths, it drank from the well called Hjörvergomar, the same spring from which the 11 rivers had flowed in the beginning of all things. Near this well dwelled the dragon Nidhogg, an ancient, terrible serpent who gnawed constantly at the root of Yggdrasil. The dragon would chew and chew and chew, trying to destroy the tree. But the Norns, tending to the root with their sacred water, kept it alive. And so Yggdrasil endured, damaged, wounded, but always, always alive. Breathe slowly, in and out. Picture the tree,
so vast that clouds drift through its branches, so wide that forests could grow upon its leaves. A squirrel named Ratatoskr runs up and down its trunk, carrying messages and insults between the eagle who sits at its highest branch and the dragon who gnaws at its lowest root. 4 stags wander among the leaves, eating them slowly. Bees hum among the flowers. And all of this, the eagle, the dragon, the stags, the squirrel, the Norns, the wells, all of this exists within one single tree. A tree that holds the entire universe. From this tree, the 9 worlds branched out, each one resting upon a different portion of Yggdrasil. There was Asgard, highest of all, home of the Aesir gods, a realm of golden halls and bright meadows, of great warriors and mighty deeds. There was Vanaheim, home of the Vanir, an older race of gods, masters of fertility, of magic, of the hidden knowledge of the earth. There was Alfheim, the bright realm of the light elves, beings of beauty beyond description, who shone like the morning sun. There was Midgard, our world, the realm of humans, built in the center of everything, surrounded by a great sea. And beneath that sea coiled a serpent so large that it encircled the entire world, biting its own tail. Its name was Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent. And this, too, is a tale for another night.
There was Svartalfheim, the deep realm of the dark elves and the dwarves, a place beneath the earth of tunnels and forges, where the greatest treasures of the gods were crafted. The hammer of Thor, the spear of Odin, the golden hair of Sif, all were made in the darkness of Svartalfheim. There was Jotunheim, the cold, wild land of the giants, a realm of mountains and glaciers, of dense forests and deep caverns, where the enemies of the gods dwelled and schemed. There was Niflheim, the ancient realm of ice and mist, oldest of all. There was Muspelheim, the realm of fire, where Surtur still stood, watching, sword in hand. And finally, there was Helheim, the realm of the dead, a place beneath the roots of the tree, ruled by a goddess named Hel. Those who died of sickness, or of old age, or of anything other than a warrior's death in battle, went to her halls. It was a quiet place, a still place, not cruel and not kind, simply a place where the dead rested forever.
9 realms, each one connected to the others by the tree, each one a piece of the great cosmic order. And at the very heart of it all, the Aesir, the gods, made their home. They built a great citadel in Asgard, surrounded by walls of gleaming stone. They built golden halls. They built bridges of rainbow light, connecting Asgard to Midgard, to the realm of mortals. The most famous of these bridges was called Bifrost, and it was guarded by a watchful god named Heimdall, who could see 100 leagues in every direction, and who could hear grass growing upon the earth and wool growing upon sheep. The gods had their home. The world had its order, and yet one thing remained missing. One thing was not yet born: humans. One day, the three brothers, Odin, Vili, and Ve, were walking along the seashore of the New World. And there, upon the sand, they found two pieces of driftwood. One was from an ash tree, the other was from an elm. The gods looked at the driftwood, and they decided to make something of it. Odin breathed into the wood, and with his breath, he gave it life, a soul, a spirit, the divine spark of being. Vili gave the wood mind and movement, thought, feeling, desire. And Ve gave it senses, sight, so it could see the beauty of the world, hearing, so it could hear the wind and the waves, speech, so it could tell its own stories, and appearance, so that it could be known and loved by others. From the ash tree, they made the first man. His name was Ask. From the elm, they made the first woman. Her name was Embla. And Ask and Embla became the parents of all humankind. Every person who has ever lived in the Norse tradition descends from these two, shaped from driftwood by the hands of three gods walking along the shore at the beginning of the world. The gods gave them Midgard as their home, and there humankind began. Breathe in slowly. Let your body sink a little deeper into the place where you rest. Let your thoughts slow, like rivers in winter. The worlds have been shaped. The tree has been planted. The first people walk the earth. And in the halls of Asgard, the greatest of the gods is about to embark on a journey that will change him forever. Of all the gods of Asgard, none was greater than Odin. He was called the All-Father, the Wanderer, the One-Eyed, the Raven God. He had 1,000 names and 1,000 faces, for he was a god of many things: of war, of poetry, of kingship, of death, of magic, of wisdom. But of all these, it was wisdom that Odin hungered for most. Even as the ruler of gods, he felt the limits of what he knew. He saw the wide sweep of existence, the 9 worlds, the endless branches of Yggdrasil, the fates woven by the Norns, and he knew that there were secrets hidden even from him. Secrets about the future, secrets about the end of all things, secrets that could only be bought at great cost. And so Odin set out upon a journey, not a journey of war or of conquest, but a journey of learning. He left the golden halls of Asgard behind him, and he wandered, in disguise, in a cloak of gray, with a wide-brimmed hat pulled low over his face. He walked among giants and among mortals. He asked questions. He listened. He learned.
But there was one thing above all others that he desired to know. He wanted the deepest wisdom in all the cosmos, the wisdom hidden in the well of Mimir. that sacred well beneath the second root of Yggdrasil, whose waters held the knowledge of ages. And so he came to the well, and he stood before Mimir, the wise and ancient being who guarded its waters. "I wish to drink," Odin said. Mimir looked at him for a long time, for Mimir could see who stood before him, despite the disguise, and Mimir knew the price of what Odin asked. "The waters of this well," Mimir said, "are not given freely. No one drinks from this well without paying, not even you, Odin, All-Father, greatest of the gods." "Name your price," said Odin. And Mimir named it. "An eye, one of your own. You must pluck out one of your eyes and cast it into the well. And then, and only then, may you drink." Odin did not hesitate long. He reached up to his own face, and with his own hand he took out one of his eyes, and he dropped it into the dark waters of the well. They say that his eye rests there still, at the bottom of the well, beneath the roots of the world tree, gazing up into the darkness. And then Odin drank. And in drinking, he saw. He saw things no other god had seen. He saw the past unfolded like a long scroll behind him. He saw the present spread across all 9 worlds at once. And he saw the future, dimly, imperfectly, but enough. He saw the coming of Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, the end of all things. He saw his own death at the jaws of a terrible wolf. He saw the fall of his sons. He saw the world burning and sinking beneath the sea. And yet, Odin drank, and Odin knew, and Odin walked away from that well forever changed. But this was not the end of his search for wisdom, for Odin knew that even the waters of Mimir had not given him everything. There was more. There was always more. And so, in time, Odin returned to Asgard, and he did something that no god had ever done before. He took his own spear, the spear called Gungnir, and he pierced himself with it into his own side. And then, bleeding, he climbed the great tree Yggdrasil itself. He climbed until he found a branch high above the world, and there he tied a rope around his own neck, and he hanged himself from the branches of the world tree. And he hung there, bleeding from his wound, starving, thirsting, not eating, not drinking, not sleeping. For 9 days and 9 nights he hung. No god came to help him. No god could, for this was a sacrifice that only Odin could make. A sacrifice of himself to himself. Odin given to Odin. The god offered to the god. He hung, and the wind of the high branches blew through his clothes. He hung, and the stars wheeled above him, and the earth turned slowly below. He hung, and the dragon Nidhogg gnawed at the root far beneath. He hung, and the Norns worked at their weaving far away. He hung, and all the 9 worlds continued their business, and no one looked up to see the god dying upon the tree. And on the 9th night, as the end seemed near, something happened. Beneath him, on the bark of Yggdrasil, shapes appeared, shapes that had always been there, but that no eye had ever seen, that no mind had ever understood. They were the runes, the ancient symbols that held within them the deepest magic of the cosmos, the runes of creation, the runes of destruction, the runes of victory, of love, of death, of healing, of fate itself. Odin reached down, and he took them. With the last of his strength, he pulled himself from the rope. He fell to the earth below, and he lived. And in his mind, he carried the runes. And from that moment forward, Odin knew the deepest magic that existed in any of the 9 worlds. He could shape fate. He could speak with the dead. He could see across vast distances. He could work wonders no other god could work. But he had paid. Oh, how he had paid. His eye was gone, given to the well. His comfort was gone, given to the tree.
And even his sight of the future was a burden, for now he carried the knowledge of his own death. He knew how it would come. He knew when it would come. And he knew that nothing could stop it. This is why, in all the stories, Odin is a god of wandering, a god with one eye, a god who is sometimes sad and sometimes restless and sometimes terrible. For he carries burdens that no other god carries. He has looked into the deep well of wisdom, and he has not forgotten what he has seen. Breathe slowly, in and out. Rest now for a moment with the image of the god upon the tree, of the eye dropped into the well, of the runes rising from the bark. These are ancient things, old things, older than any story you know. And yet they have survived, whispered across 1,000 years, to reach you tonight. Now we turn, at last, to the great citadel of the gods, to Asgard itself. For though we have spoken of its making and of its lord, we have not yet walked through its halls. Asgard was a realm of impossible beauty. It rested upon the highest branch of Yggdrasil, in the place where the sky was closest and the air was clearest. Its walls were of smooth, pale stone, and they stretched so high that no mortal eye could see their tops. Within those walls, golden halls rose up, each one the home of a god, each one a place of feasting and of counsel and of song. At the heart of Asgard stood the great hall of Odin. It was called Valhalla, the Hall of the Slain. In Valhalla, the spirits of warriors who had died bravely in battle were welcomed. They lived forever among the gods, feasting each night upon the meat of a great boar that was slaughtered and resurrected every day, drinking mead from the horns passed by the Valkyries, the battle maidens of Odin. Each morning, the warriors rose and fought great battles upon the plains of Asgard. Each evening, the slain rose again, their wounds healed, and they returned to Valhalla for the night's feast. This was the paradise promised to those who fell in war. Valhalla had 540 doors, each one so wide that 800 warriors could march through side by side. For Odin was preparing. Even in paradise, Odin was preparing. He knew Ragnarok was coming. He knew the final battle would come. and he was gathering his army, the greatest warriors of all the ages, to stand with him when that day came.
Near Valhalla stood another hall. This one belonged to Thor. It was called Bilskirnir, the brightest hall of all, with 540 rooms. Thor was the god of thunder, of storms, of strength. He was the protector of Asgard and of Midgard. He was the mightiest warrior among the gods. He carried a hammer named Mjolnir, a hammer forged by dwarves in the deep places of Svartalheim. When Thor threw the hammer, it would never miss its target. When it struck, mountains would shatter, and no matter how far it flew, it would always return to his hand. Thor rode across the sky in a chariot pulled by two great goats. Their names were Tengrisnir and Tengrastur, the goats whose teeth gnashed and cracked. When Thor struck his hammer upon the clouds, the thunder that rolled across the sky was the sound of his chariot. The flashes of lightning were the sparks struck from his hammer. In every thunderstorm that you have ever heard, in every crash of the heavens, the Old Norse would say, Thor is riding, Thor is fighting, Thor is keeping us safe. There were other gods as well, many others. There was Frigg, Odin's wife, the queen of Asgard, a goddess of wisdom, of foresight, of love. She too could see the future, though she rarely spoke of what she saw. She wove clouds at her great loom, and she watched over mothers and children throughout the 9 worlds.
There was Balder, the most beloved of all the gods, the son of Odin and Frigg. He was beautiful beyond measure. His skin glowed with a soft light, and where he walked, flowers bloomed. Every being in all the 9 worlds loved Balder. Gods, humans, giants, dwarves, elves, animals, even the stones of the earth. But Balder's story is a sad one, for a dark fate awaited him, and even his mother's love could not save him in the end. There was Tyr, the one-handed god, a god of justice, of law, of honor. He had lost his hand to the great wolf Fenrir, a wolf so terrible that even the gods feared him. Tyr had placed his hand in the wolf's mouth as a pledge of trust, so that the gods could bind the wolf with a magical chain. The chain held, but Fenrir in his rage bit off Tyr's hand. And Tyr bore the loss with quiet dignity, as befitted a god of honor, for he knew it was a price that had to be paid. There was Heimdall, the watchman, the god who stood upon the rainbow bridge Bifrost, guarding the entrance to Asgard. He needed no sleep. His eyes could see 100 leagues in every direction. His ears could hear the grass grow and the wool of sheep lengthen upon their backs. And when Ragnarok came, it was Heimdall who would blow the great horn Gjarhorn to summon all the gods to the final battle.
There was Freya, the goddess of love, of beauty, of gold, of war. She rode a chariot pulled by 2 great cats. She was once of the Vanir gods who had warred with the Aesir long ago and who had been made one family through hostages and peace. There was Frey, her brother, the god of sunshine, of harvest, of prosperity. He was loved by all who worked the land.
And there was one more god in Asgard, a god who was not really one of them, a god whose presence brought at once laughter and trouble. His name was Loki. Loki was a trickster, a shapeshifter, a teller of lies. He was not a son of the gods, but a son of giants. And yet he had sworn brotherhood with Odin in the oldest days, and so he dwelled among the Aesir. He could change his shape at will. He could become a fish, a bird, a seal, a fly. He had once even turned himself into a mare to lure away a great stallion. Loki's cleverness helped the gods more times than could be counted. But his cleverness also caused great sorrow, for he was the father, in time, of 3 terrible children. A wolf, Fenrir, who would one day devour Odin. A serpent, Jormungandr, who would one day poison Thor. And a pale, sad daughter named Hel.
For now, the gods lived in Asgard. They feasted, they fought, they loved, they laughed. They wandered through the 9 worlds and shaped the fates of mortals far below. And high above, the stars turned, and the sun fled its wolf, and the moon fled its wolf, and the Norns wove at their loom. And Yggdrasil grew slowly, patiently, across the ages. This was the world of the Old Norse, a world of wonder, a world of fate, a world where every tale was part of a greater tale, and where the greatest tale of all, the final tale, was still to come. But it will not come tonight. Tonight, you rest. Tonight, you let the gods return to their golden halls, and the giants to their cold mountains, and the dwarves to their deep forges. Tonight, the 9 worlds settle into quiet, and so too may you. Breathe in slowly and out. Let your body soften. Let your mind drift. Let the images of Asgard fade gently, like coals cooling in the hearth. You have traveled far tonight, wanderer. You have seen the birth of all things. You have stood beneath the world tree. You have walked through the halls of the Aesir. Now, you may sleep. The tale will be here, waiting whenever you wish to return. Until then, rest well.